Hey, what's going on, guys? You're back at the Site for Sports. I'm your host, Daniel Smith, and we're here talking NCAA basketball. So there weren't as many barn burners as the week before, but it was still a good week in basketball. Let's get right into it, starting with Syracuse and Cincinnati. I had this game in my 5 for 5 last week, and Cincinnati proved me right. They have that tough down low presence, and as we saw in the Syracuse game, they can shoot the three ball. They extended that zone all game, and they were really playing pretty well, but Syracuse is just a more talented team with a better zone defense in the back end, and they pulled it through. Baylor at Oklahoma, finally Baylor, the Bears get off the snide, back to their winning ways. They finally can put the losing to marquee teams in the past, and I can't wait for that Missouri matchup, that rematch. Is going to be a big game. Kentucky at Georgia proved why they're the number one team in the nation, the most talented team in the nation, and to be honest, they're the favorite to win the tournament right now, in my personal opinion. Michigan at Purdue. Purdue lost a lot of talent from last year. Moore, Johnson, and Hummel really is still kind of getting into his own after all the surgeries and the reconstruction, the therapy, right? So couldn't expect much, but they played a stellar game at the Wolverines. They lost it tight at the end, but that's a great non-win that's on your schedule. And if it comes down to it, a lot of voters will look at that and say, you know what, they held this team tight, and it all depends really on where Michigan ends as well, but you never know with Purdue. Oklahoma State and Missouri, I don't think anyone saw this coming. The Cowboys put it on the Tigers. Surprising, I know, but that's how it is playing on the road in any conference. Missouri will bounce back. Frank Haith had the team rolling, and they will continue to roll on. Indiana, Wisconsin, I called this game as well. Indiana is not the team that's going to win the tough games. They're not the team that's going to win the tight games. They had that one win against Kentucky and have lost everyone since. And it's not because they're a poor team. They just don't have that go-to guy that they're going to say, listen, this guy gets the ball and he's going to put it in the basket. As simple as that. They went to a tough Wisconsin arena and, like most other teams, took a loss. Kansas at Iowa State. I'm not really surprised about this loss either. I know Iowa State is not that great of a team, but to be honest, I think Kansas's rank is misleading. I think like many of the other people who talk about Kansas, many of the other specialists, I honestly think that Kansas isn't as great as a number 5 ranking entails. I don't think they have the talent after Robinson. They don't really have a player that you can say this guy's the guy. They don't. Tyshawn is not really that point guard that's going to take over the game, and you're not going to have the confidence in him as you would as in other players like the Jordan Taylors of the world. It just doesn't make sense, right? They lose the game. They played a good game. Thomas Robinson played a good game, but there's not really much else to that. Notre Dame versus UConn. Man, Notre Dame, all they had to do is get that one win on the road, and they're doing good things now. They have a good record. I think it's 14-8, so their resume continues to build, and they're doing great things. That's a 5 for 5 sign, so we're right into the 5 for 5 for this week, and my 5 for 5 is big. We have Missouri, number 2 Missouri, then number 2 Missouri at Texas. I think this game is going to be a good game. Texas they have the team that can compete. They're not necessarily the most talented, but they can play well. It's all about Mick Kabongo. If he can be consistent at the point guard position, Texas will thrive. But he's been inconsistent, turned over the balls way too many times in crucial moments. I think Missouri will win this game handily, but Texas could give them a run. Number 4, North Carolina at Wake Forest. To be honest, the only reason why I have this game highlighted is because North Carolina has been extremely inconsistent. They've blown out marquee teams and got blown out by lower tier teams. So we don't know what's going to happen. Wake Forest isn't the greatest of teams, but you truly never know in the ACC. Number 3, number 19 UConn at number 10 Georgetown. This might be a snooze fest. UConn likes to shoot the ball, likes to run, but to be honest, Georgetown is at home. They don't have the athletes, and they love to run the slow half-court offense. So we will see Georgetown just slow this game down and try to beat UConn with excellent schemes, excellent plays, and good shooting percentage. Number 2, Indiana at Michigan. This is the first time in the last couple weeks that Indiana, I actually will pick them to win the game. I think both of these teams love to shoot, but Indiana just has more shooters. So they will win this game. And if they don't, I'll be surprised. And their program might just fall off the face if they keep losing games. But I think they will win this game. Number 1, Big game of the week, number 3, Ohio State versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin can finally redeem themselves. We'll see Ohio State come to town, and we'll see how it goes. Ohio State is playing great basketball right now. Sully's back, and everything's rolling well. We'll see if Wisconsin can pull this one out. I think they can. They're at home. They have the home crowd. That place is always tough to play in. Ask Indiana. Ask all the other teams. They will. I think they will win this game, but you never know. It's Ohio State. They're an overpowering team. Quick 3 notable games. Kansas at Missouri. It's going to be a huge game. Missouri takes that one. Michigan State. Michigan State will win this game. They cannot lose in Michigan and then lose at home. They will win this game. And the last game, Virginia at Florida State. Mark my words, Virginia needs to be very careful. The last team ranked that Florida State played at home, North Carolina, and what did they do to them? Everybody knows. Watch out for Florida State Giant Killers right now. Thanks, guys, for listening again to this week. I'm your host, Daniel Smith of the Site4Sports. You have any comments, hit us up, on YouTube, on our blog, wherever you want to. Thanks again.